Hello, hello, hello. We're about to get started in about 30 seconds. Are you with me? Are you ready? I said, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm checking the chat and make sure. Yes, yes, yes. So here we are. We are about to get locked and loaded on a topic on tonight that I promise you. Once we get started, I don't think you're gonna leave until it's over. I don't think you're gonna leave till it's over. You're like, what is she talking about? Y'all, I can't tell you yet. Give me about 10 more seconds. I said we're gonna get started in about 30 seconds. So give me about 5 more seconds. 5 more seconds, y'all. 5 more seconds. And we ready to lock in. Ready to lock in. You ready to lock in? I said, are you ready to lock in? So I said we have a topic on tonight, a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I was shocked, not with, not like vaccination, but I was shocked, y'all, when I was 16 years old. And many of you that listen and know me, you already know the story. But there's a lot of you out there that don't know this story. You don't know this story. And I was 16 years old. I got shot 16. Yes, 1-6. Some of y'all have children that are 16, 15, 14 years old, 17 years old, grandchildren. And I still feel like it was yesterday. I still feel like it was yesterday, y'all. Tonight's topic is I was shot at 16, but that is not the story. What do you mean that's not the story? Well, the real story is trauma doesn't get the final word. See, I'm your host on tonight, Latonia Monroe Naylor, the only mission-rich strategist in the world. I could say I'm the best, but I'm the only. So the only, I guess by default, I'm the best, right? And I didn't get here by accident. I didn't get here talking about the thing that I wanted to do. I didn't get here just raising money and helping a lot of people. But it started a long, long time ago. A long time ago when I was 16 years old. So what brought about this conversation? Y'all like, sometimes, we're talking about all these different subjects and being a leader and what it really means to be a leader. I was having a conversation today with a client and I said, the reality is this. You don't hear me talking about grant writing. You don't hear me talking about contracts. You don't hear me talking about all the fundraising and things that I've done because at the end of the day, it doesn't define me. It's a thing I know how to do. It's a thing I know how to teach, but it doesn't define me. What really defines you as a mission-driven leader, as somebody who's going to create lasting impact, as somebody who will eventually become mission rich, because becoming mission rich is a journey. Every single one of you has a foundational story. Every single one of you has something that happened to you and your life that changed the whole way that you see the world, and you will never, ever be able to unsee and undo that perspective that you gained, that lens that you now see the world through, or the learning that transpired because of it. Now, I know that some people are going to listen and be like, how in the world do I make this make sense? The math don't math. It doesn't make sense to me. Why did I have to go through this thing? Why did my child have to go through this thing? Why did my loved one have to go through this thing? And then we're reminded on tonight that trauma does not get the final say. The things that happen to us do not get the final say. And so the reason why this conversation came to be was because a few weeks ago, I was leaving Atlanta. I was at the airport, and my husband was like, honey, ain't that so and so? I'm not telling you who so and so is. Maybe one day you'll get to find out who so and so is. Well, he said, ain't that so and so? Weren't they speaking at the conference? And I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I go over and I speak to them, and I bring my book with me, Mission Rich and Profit Powered. And I talk to them about it. You know, they take the book, they start reading the book, and they start asking me questions like, why did you write this book? What do you do and why? And I told them, December 23rd, December 23rd, 1996. That was the date. That was the date that things could have ended for me, but it was also the day that things began for me. What do I mean by that? When you have ever been in a life or death situation, and unfortunately, even at that age, at 16, I had a few run-ins. It was the neighborhood I grew up in, right? And that particular night, December 23rd, 1996, I'm walking with a friend, leaving the studio, because y'all, I used to rap. I don't know. I might drop a little something for y'all one day. Not today. Not today. Not today. Not today. I don't care what you put in the chat. You ain't about to get me to do that today. But December 23rd, 1996, I'm leaving from the studio, walking with my friend. And these guys come out of nowhere. It's dark, so we don't see them. And before you know it, they're jumping on my friend. They're doing whatever they're doing, scuffling, whatever. And next thing I know, I hear a loud boom. And I'm on the ground and I'm laying there and I'm screaming, I'm crying, and I'm in pain. And all I could say in that moment, and don't ask me how a 16-year-old knows to say this, but I did. I said, Lord, I'm not fit to live and I'm not fit to die. I just knew that. I knew that I wasn't what I understood based on what I learned in Sunday school and all the things. I was not prepared to leave this place. And I cried out in the pain that I was in. And what happened that night was a miracle, short of a miracle. And if you want to know the full story, I'm going to go ahead and do a commercial and refer you to Mission Rich and Profit Power, my book, because then you can get the whole story. It's at the beginning of the book, so you don't got to read the whole thing to get to that story. But I would recommend that you do. But anyways, back to the story. The short of it is that night, something in me shifted. Something in me shifted because the question that I asked after I made the statement, the next question that I remember asking after the surgery or whatever, all the things I had to go through when I got home and I finally woke up from a lengthy sleep, my question was, why in the world would these men feel that the only solution is for them to go out and rob somebody? And pretty much I could have died. I could have not been here. Over what? And that is the question I started to ask myself. And then I started thinking about what it could mean to be in a community where people didn't have to do that. Now, in 1998, I was getting all kinds of scholarships to go to college. I was the first one in my line to go to college. And I remember being interviewed, and there was a woman that wrote this article about me. And the title of the article was, "She's No Victim, She's Top Scholar." Now, I can't say I had the confidence in myself that I believed I was top scholar. I can't even say that I really got it. But at the time, the question that I want to ask you is this, because this is the question that I think about now, because now I'm not going to tell you how old I am, because I don't feel like doing that. But I will tell you it was a long time ago. When I was in high school, I don't remember all of the things. I remember that one question that I told you that I asked, but there was a sense of celebration for everyone. I mean, when I came back to school, people was telling me, "Oh, I heard you jumped in front of the bullet. Oh, I heard you like Superwoman," and da da da. Right? So everybody obviously was happy that nothing happened to me, but it was this sense of like, you have endured this thing that nobody endured. So because you've endured this thing, you are like, gotta be good. You gotta be good. On the outside, I was good. I mean, I had a lot of healing to do physically, but from what people could see, I was good, but I wasn't good. I wasn't good. See, when you go through the thing that you've been through, when you go through the challenge, the trauma, I'm not even going to name all the traumas because there's so many traumas that people have been through. There's addictions, there's abuse, there's physical abuse, emotional abuse, there's disease, there's all kind of things that people endure that cause trauma to the mind and to the body that prevent us oftentimes from being able to really operate in who we are as a leader, who we are as a person. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. When you are going through something so traumatic, you don't usually see that you're dealing with the trauma until it has already impacted you. It almost becomes this qualifier for you to now justify why you're doing the thing that you're doing at such a passionate level and why you feel the need to continue to fight for the thing that you believe that this is why I went through what I went through. This is why I went through what I went through. So I have to continue. I have to continue to do the thing. I have to continue to work towards it. And what we will do, I'm not trying to profess to be any type of mental health person or anything, y'all. I'm telling y'all my story, okay? Is it okay if I share with y'all my story? Is it okay if I share with you what I went through and why it's so relative to the thing that you're going through or that you went through? Yes, yes. Come on, talk back to me. I might not be able to hear you in real life, but I'm hearing you. I'm feeling you. That was 30 years ago, almost. Because I'm still not going to tell you how old I am. I thought I did the work, y'all. I thought I did the work. I went to counseling, therapy. I found solace in music and art and all the things. And I can remember times when I felt like I was okay. And then I can remember times when I was not okay. I was not okay. And the level of PTSD that people go through when they have experienced trauma or PTSI, whatever you want to call it, because there's different names depending on what industry you're in. When you go through a thing that changes you that drastically and that quickly, there's two things that happen. Number one, your capacity, and this is me telling you and my understanding of leadership development. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not trying to even be one, okay? I'm telling you what I know from what I experienced and what I've seen other leaders go through that I work with and that I coach, okay? Do I have your permission to continue? Thank you. All right, so trauma can be the event, but it doesn't have to be the author of your identity. Write that down. Trauma doesn't have to be the author of your identity. In other words, the things that you went through, y'all work with me, walk with me, walk with me. I'm taking you somewhere on this journey. I promise you. I promise you will not be disappointed by the time we get to the end of this journey. Trauma is an event in your life that does something for you that nothing else can do. And I actually had to create a whole framework around this. For some people, haven't been through the level of trauma that actually causes this, but I experienced this through the trauma. So I'm able to look at it and say, how do you, I don't want to say benefit because that sounds like, how do you benefit? But I don't want to say benefit. I'm going to say, how do you capitalize? How do you take a thing that was meant for your demise or meant to defeat you, meant to oppress you, and turn it around as something that now you are able to stand on and use as a scaffold? How do you use it as a scaffold? This is what we're talking about on tonight. So your trauma, the thing that you've been through, the thing that you have experienced, what it did that I don't know if you realize yet, and I'm walking you to this door so you can open it if you haven't already. When you have experienced this high level of trauma, especially as a young person, but even in adult life, what happens is your capacity shifts. All of a sudden, there are all these things that change in your brain that allow for you to see and do things in ways that you never could have done before you experienced the thing. What am I saying? I'm saying that because you went through something should not ever dictate how much further you're able to go. When you go through something, the real feeling and emotion and sentiment is that it captivates you and it makes you feel like it has become your identity. Leaders, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, solopreneurs. I'm talking to you, pastors. I'm talking to you, folks that care about people and work to help people and have worked through your own issues and yet find out that you really haven't worked through it. You find out that though you survived, you're still hurting. Though you were strong, you still need healing. Though you kept moving, you're still processing. Let's go back. Let's break it back again. You survived, but it still hurts. You were strong, but guess what? You're still healing. You kept it moving, but you still need to process. There is nothing wrong with taking a moment to recognize and identify with the fact that you are human and you are entitled to go through the emotions, to go through the grieving. Because guess what? Trauma causes a sense of grieving. You don't have to lose somebody to grieve. Sometimes you're losing yourself and you're grieving yourself. You're grieving the person that you were. You're grieving the person, the identity that you thought you were, that you no longer have to hold on to because trauma forced you to become or think or do in a different way that you never had done before. And here's the thing. If you've ever been cut and you get a scar, now I have scars. I just told you about one that I got when I got shot, but I have scars. I have one from when I got burned. Got another one when I jumped the fence. Got caught in the fence, running around. I got scars. We all have scars. And the thing with scar tissue is it's designed to protect you, right? So that you can get healed. But the other thing that happens with scar tissue is it can be something that restricts you from being able to have full capacity and full movement. Even though I had my injury up 10 years ago, I still feel the pain and the remnants of the injury every now and again. Not every day, but every now and again I feel it and I'm like, oh yeah. I see that scar. Oh yeah. I remember. And here's the thing. Just because distance has happened doesn't mean that you've healed. Just because you haven't paid attention to it doesn't mean that you've healed. Why am I talking about this? Because there's a new version of you that will surface just like a phoenix out of the ashes of whatever thing that you have gone through. And what tends to happen as a leader, this I told you I was walking you to the door. What tends to happen as a mission-driven leader is two things. I'm going to write it down. I have two words for y'all. Responsibility and obligation. Responsibility and obligation. Why are these two words here? I'm about to tell you. I'm glad you asked. What's the difference between responsibility and obligation? I'm going to tell you. Responsibility is the intentional stewardship of what has been entrusted to you. Obligation is the belief that you must carry something because you owe. Responsibility is the intentional stewardship of something that was entrusted to you. And obligation is the belief that because you owe something, that you must carry it, you must hold on to it. So responsibility, I would say, is a plus. Obligation, I would say, is a minus. I'm going to make it red. Right? Obligation is you owe something to someone. I want you to think about that for a second. I want you to think about that just for a moment. I want you to rest with that. Ask yourself the question, am I doing the thing that I'm doing? Am I pressing the way that I'm pressing? Am I striving the way that I'm striving because of a responsibility to steward something? Or am I doing it because of an obligation, because I survived it, because I went through it, because I made it through? Now I owe somebody something. Now, the reality is, it can look like the same thing if we are not careful to really unpack the reason in the inside. And I would dare say to you that the reason why over 80% of mission-driven leaders struggle with burnout is because not that they have the responsibility to carry things, not that they have the responsibility to be working 70 and 80 hours a week, not that they have the responsibility to do things for free that they should be paid for, not that they have the responsibility to not take vacations and be there to enjoy their family and be at birthday parties and graduations and all the things. Not that they have the responsibility, but they have an obligation. They feel like there's a debt that they owe and they gotta pay it. And if you always feel indebted to somebody, if you always feel indebted to a thing, you will always sacrifice what's best for you. And I'm not telling you to be selfish. So let's make this very clear. I'm not a selfish person, and I don't desire for you to be a selfish person. But what I'm saying to you is this: if you continue to operate from a place of owing and debt, then the things that come with owing and debt are not good for you. Regret, bitterness, toxic stress. You want to help me name some more things that you've been experiencing because you've been carrying things out of obligation? Not feeling like you can say no, not being able to set boundaries that are healthy for you to be able to grow and develop, get rest. Rest, not just sleep. I'm not talking about just go to bed for a few hours and then get up and now you're ready to lock in. Absolutely not. Now, there's seasons where you got to lock in, you got to do the things. Understand that what I'm saying is if you're operating from a sense of guilt and obligation, you, my friend, my sister, my brother, are going to burn out, and you are going to have a lot of other layers of other things happening besides the thing that you went through that you're still healing from. But see, here's the thing. I told y'all capacity comes with the experience of going through a trauma. Did I not say that earlier? Well, the reason why I said that to you is because you can feel that because I went through a thing, I don't want anybody else to ever have to go through that. I remember going through the year of recovery from after I got shot in my chest at point blank range and my rib cage cracked and all the things. I remember thinking I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I remember thinking, I hope nobody else ever has to deal with this pain. Nobody else ever has to deal with this feeling, this fear of going into public places and not knowing, or you hear something and wondering, is this happening again? I never want anybody to ever experience that. And here's the thing. I was at an event, like I said, the same event where I was at the airport. I was at the event. At the end of the event, everybody was pretty much leaving. And I got separated from my husband and was trying to find him, didn't know where he was. He couldn't find me. It was like all this thing. And that's when I realized I was not fully healed. I realized I wasn't fully healed because the level of anxiety that I experienced from being in a place after hours and it was dark, all the things, I realized I was not 100% healed. What am I saying to you? Stress will cause you to feel and relive the thing all over again and again and again and again. And then that's when your sense of obligation rises. That's when you tend to say, hey, I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it. But when is enough enough? When are we going to acknowledge the fact that we have to sit down and ask ourselves, why are we serving? Why are we doing the thing that we do? Listen, there's a sense of realignment. There's a sense of, how do I say it? There's a sense of being able to reconnect with the thing that you're passionate about from a healthy standpoint so that you can still do the thing, but not out of obligation, but with respect, with boundaries, with responsibility. I was called to do this thing. I was called to help widows. I was called to help children learn how to read. I was called to, run an educational program. I was called to teach people how to lead and find voice or how to speak publicly. I was called to do the thing. However, I understand and I appreciate and realize that if I am not taking care of this vessel, there is no way in the world I'm going to be effective in helping other people. But the trauma will cause us to suck back in and feel like obligation. I got to get it done. Got to get it done. Got to get it done. So what protected you? That scar tissue, that trauma that you thought was healed all the way. And you realize you're listening to me right now. You're like, oh no, that's why I do that. That's why I respond that way. Well, that's why I talk the way I talk. And then you realize, guess what? This can get better. This can be better. Did you not hear what the Mission Rich strategist said? Because here's why. Here's why it's important. I'm going to ask y'all three questions. But before I ask the three questions, I want to say this. Here is why. Here's why it's important. Y'all was looking at the chat. I see y'all watching me, but I don't see y'all putting nothing in the chat. Put something in the chat. Let me know, did you hear me? Let me know that you agree. Let me know that, something. You agree, disagree, whatever it is. I want to know. So here's the thing, y'all. In order to fully be able to maximize your potential, it has to be a shifting in the mind of how I respond to the things that I went through that I did not like. It didn't feel good at the time. I didn't like how I felt. I was hurting a little bit. I felt a little disappointed. I felt a little lonely. Whatever feelings you felt when you were going through the thing. Here's the thing. When you're a leader, you're called to lead, which means you may often be the one that nobody else has done what you've done, or nobody that you know has done what you've done. So because of that, there's this feeling of loneliness or isolation that could sometimes take place because you're treading the corner and you're making a way for other people to be able to come in after you, right? And do the thing or reap the benefit from the thing that you're doing. But here's the thing. If you are not embracing the learning that happened because of what you went through and you're in denial or you're bitter or you're doing it out of debt and obligation, then you're going to miss the ability to teach the thing to somebody else so that if they go through what you went through, they'll heal quicker, they'll be able to grow faster, they'll be able to go further. But also, maybe you can avoid somebody ever having to go through that ever again, or at least minimize that number as much as possible. So I want to ask you 3 questions. There's 3 questions I'm going to ask you. How many did I say? 3. In order for you to make the determination as to whether or not this is something that you are given as a responsibility or you feel it as an obligation, there are 3 questions. The first question is, who entrusted this to you? Dun, dun, dun. Who entrusted this to you? Who told you this is what you were supposed to do? The second question is, what am I afraid of will happen if I don't do it? If I don't carry this, what will happen? And the third question, is that fear from this year or an older year? What do I mean by that? Is that a fear, a real present danger, right? Not anxiety, because anxiety is different. Is that a real fear? Something that is because of something you're dealing with now, or is it something that happened before and you don't even have proof that this thing might even happen, but because of what you went through before, now you're bringing that into this season? Those are 3 questions that you can ask yourself to find out, am I doing this out of obligation or am I doing this out of responsibility? Because if you're doing it out of responsibility, growth will happen, scale will happen, margin will happen. I talk about margin a lot in the Mission Rich experience, right? How to have margin, how to create time margin, health margin, money margin, all the things. That happens when we understand why we are doing a thing. And it's okay if up until today you've been doing it out of obligation. It's okay. Pat yourself in the back. Good job. You did it for a long time. It's time for you to let it go. Okay? It's time for you to let it go. Let it go. And so if you listen on tonight and you're like, look, girl, I appreciate what you said, Mission Rich Strategist. LaTonya, you're talking about things that are right down my street. Then I want you to check me out. Come and visit me. I have complimentary assessments that I'm doing. I only do a handful each week. So if you want to get on the calendar, you want to get one of those assessments, talk more about what you're dealing with, how is it affecting your ability to grow and be successful in the things that you're doing, let's have a conversation. The link will be in the chat, but you can also follow me on any social media platform at the Monroe Nailer. And at the end of the day, I want to ask you a very important favor. Please, please, please share this with a strong friend. Share this video with a strong friend, because unfortunately, strong people are the ones that we check on the least. We just don't check on them nearly enough. I want you to stay mission rich, y'all. Have a blessed evening.